Say yes every day to the world and to your heart. Open up your eyes and let your spirit start. Say yes to the dreams you hold inside. Let your soul be your guide.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Wednesday Wisdom. Today, we are joined by the incredible Mark Hayden. He is a certified mortgage advisor at Nexa Mortgage. Mark, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. And to kick us off, we always like to begin with, we go through our lives, and as we're going along our path, we're picking up little bits of knowledge and wisdom from others. And I believe that, when we share that, we can kind of embrace and learn from all the little journeys that you have gone through. So to start us, I'd love to know, Mark, what is a piece of advice that you would like to share with all of us?
I think the most important thing and something I wish I had done a lot earlier in my life is figure out what you really want. So often we get wrapped up in what's going on and life gets in the way. We have a lot of things happening and I'm in my early 60s, and in my mind, some of the things in the past is that you spent so much time dealing with all the stuff that really didn't matter that much. And so my advice to people would be to take a step back, see what's important to you, especially if you're young. Figure out what you want to do. I found a mortgage career about 6, 7 years ago. I wish I'd have found it 30 years ago. I love it. I enjoy it. I'm doing what I want to do. And it's just amazing to me. I wish I would have found something like this before, but the reason I didn't find it is I wasn't looking for it. I did like everybody did. I got started a career. I did different things throughout the years. And so I think the big thing is to step back and say, do you really enjoy or do you really love what you're doing? Because if you don't, you're going to a job every day. I don't have to go to a job anymore. I just get to do what I love to do, and they give me money sometimes for it.
Oh my God. Well, number one, Mark, wow, what a great piece of advice. And as you're speaking, I keep thinking to myself that expression where they say youth is wasted on the young, because if only we could have the knowledge and the experiences that we have later in life when we're young, right? Because no matter how often you say it, you just can't truly absorb it until you've had that experience of life. But you are so correct that, as you're speaking, I'm thinking that's why I say how blessed I am that I did have the mortgage industry out of my entire career. I've been in the mortgage industry, and I believe the mortgage industry actually finds us. Like, I think it's one of those industries that, to your point, you have to be open to it. You have to be ready for it. So it doesn't always find us in our youth. It could be later, such as the example you gave. But I think it's a type of industry that you have to be able to absorb and adjust and adapt and be ready to serve, right? I think that's
Correct.
part of it. So, here's a follow-up question of, okay, let's say we're speaking to the 25-year-old right now. Okay, we're having the conversation with the 25-year-old. How do they know what to look for? Because to your point, there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of things coming at them, and they see all of these shiny objects, right? The people that, oh, well, come over here, this is exciting, and come over here, makes a lot of money, and come over here, this is fun and adventurous, right? And sometimes they don't know how to see that future. So what would be that advice you would give to them?
I think what you have to do, the most important thing you have to do, if you want to be successful, if you want to have good things happen to you, you have to do other things. I'm a big fan of Zig Ziglar, and so I read something many years ago of his that said, if you help enough people, you can have anything you want if you help enough other people get the things they want. Boy, I butchered that. But anyway,
but I know that
so
expression.
True.
I know that
it's so true. It's so true. So often One of the things I see now, again, when I talk to people and everything is, especially young people, and we were all in the same boat. You're trying to make enough money to feed your family and have a life and all that kind of stuff. But I learned, and it took me a little while, I was later in life that I learned it, that if you just do the right thing, you treat people right, you help people, and you focus on the good things, the money comes. And that's the important part. Don't chase the money. Chase doing the right things. Chase what you want to do and what will help other people. And the money will come. It just does. I don't know how. I can't explain it, but it just I know a lot of people. I've had this conversation with many people. The money comes. So just focus on doing a good job, doing the right thing, helping others, and helping other people get what they want, so you can have what you want.
And doesn't that tie perfectly into the mortgage industry? When
Yes,
we
that's
think, right, when
yes.
we think about the dreams that we are bringing to life for families, I mean, we all know, I don't care if it's your first house you're buying or your fourth house
Mhm.
you're buying, going through that experience and that excitement and that worry, right? There's fear that is attached to all of that too. Like, going through that, we are forever implanted into that family to where they will
Yes.
remember that. And we are helping them achieve something that's a dream of theirs. So that is perfectly tied to your point, right? If we go above and beyond, if we try to take
Mhm.
some of that worry off of them, if we communicate, over communicate to where they're not stressed, they understand the next step, they understand what's going to happen, all of that's within our control. And that doesn't even take money when you think about it, right? Because a lot of people think, oh, well, you have to have money to make money, right? To invest. Actually, going above and beyond and providing that great service and that great communication, all that other stuff, kindness, that's free. Like, we can
Yes.
all do that, regardless of if you're just starting out or you're a seasoned veteran. So, Mark, what's your advice to that? To elaborate a little bit of what are those things that people can be doing to make other people's dreams come true?
I think the biggest thing is look and see what people need. I mean, we have people cross our paths every day in life, and I think it's important that meet them where they're at. We're all in a different place in life, and in different times in life. We've all had the good times in life, the tough times, the challenging times, the exciting times. And I think when people cross your paths, and I don't believe in coincidence too much. I think that our people's paths cross for a reason. I don't know if it's God, nature, universe, who knows. But I do know that our paths cross for a reason. For example, you and I, our paths have crossed a few years ago, that kind of thing. And that's for a reason. And I think you have to look beyond the typical stuff and find out what is it that how you can enhance each other's lives. And that's the thing. For me, I've got, a close circle of friends, and that's what we do. We enhance each other's lives. These are people, in a couple cases, I didn't even know existed 5 years ago, and yet now they're some of my closest confidants and friends that actually do things. So I think you just have to be looking for the opportunity, and then you have to embrace it and go after it. And again, not worry so much about what you're getting out of it, but what you can put into it. And then, like I said, it seems the return is always more than you put in. I don't understand that. I can't explain it, but it just seems that way to me.
Wow. I mean, this is such a beautiful conversation because I mean,
Thank you.
and it's ironic at the time that we're filming this, it was my birthday a couple days ago. And
Oh,
like,
happy
as you're
birthday.
speaking of you, but as you're thinking, saying all these things, I'm like, man, this is so spot on. It really is. And it changes. You mentioned about meet them where they are, right? We are continually evolving, right? And to your point
Yes,
that we're all in different seasons at whatever moment we're at, right? It really, and it's not about age, to your point. Sometimes we're going through great, exciting times, and sometimes it's a challenging time, and other times it's like, okay, like here's another season of life. And so to your point, there is no one size fits all. There isn't. Right.
true,
Every single person you meet,
true.
and it's interesting. I was recording with a loan officer yesterday, and he was speaking about like he doesn't stick, he will not go into any relationship with a negative person. And I kept
True.
thinking to myself, which I agree about the whole protect your energy, But sometimes you have to kind of peel back the onion to understand
Good point.
why that person. Because we
Hmm.
both know sometimes there's things going on that we don't have that awareness. And the same thing holds true with our families that we serve in the mortgage industry, right? Sometimes we don't understand what's behind the scenes. And we just have to use your words, meet them where they are. Ask
Yes.
those questions. Be,
Hmm.
continue to build that relationship because most people are closed off, right? They're not going to come and just share everything with them. But us as leaders, and leader meaning I'm leading this family to their dream home, I'm leading them to get pre qualified, I'm leading them to be mortgage ready, right? Maybe they're not mortgage ready today, right? So, how do you go about doing that, Mark, right? Like, how do you, let's say you encounter someone, whether it's a team member or whether it's someone on the mortgage side, how do you kind of break down that barrier to be able to deal with someone that kind of comes off rough from the outside, but get to that inside?
Yeah, most of those people that have those kind of issues, I find that, it's because of a trust issue or a bad trust experience in their life or experience that some people just have really been dealt a bad hand. And yet, what I find too, a lot of times is if you just take the time to hear what they're saying, and oftentimes, probably most of the time, you have to read between the lines and figure out what's really going on. It's sometimes, you were talking about negative people drain you and stuff, and they can if you allow them to. But on the same hand, if you can find out what the negativity is about, and I'm not suggesting being a therapist for everybody, but if you can find out what the negativity is about, oftentimes it has nothing to do with what they're talking about. And I think that sometimes people just want to be heard. I think that that's a lot of it, and so often, in a truly good spirit, we're trying to help them or give them advice and things like that. When all they just needed is an ear to listen. They don't need advice. They already have it figured out. We know the answer. Most of the time when we go to friends, we having issues or something like that. We know the answer. We just don't want to listen to the answer. And I always find it amazing that when you're talking to somebody and you're helping them through a tough time, and then afterwards I sit there and think a lot of times, boy, you should listen to yourself talk sometimes because you have the same issue, and yet you're not doing what you're telling them they should do. And so I think a lot of it is just really take the time to hear what people have to say, uh, uh, learn about them, and I think the most important thing is be genuine. Be genuine. Be yourself. Don't put on the fake. Don't They're going to see right through that. Everybody can see through fake. It may take them a little time, but they can see through it. Be genuine. If you're not feeling it about the person, don't pretend that you are. Be real, be genuine, and genuinely care about people and care about what they're going through, and help them find a solution that and if you can be a small part of that solution, awesome. But help them get what they need. People that are looking for a house that are struggling, maybe they're credit challenged or something like that. You've got to help them show them a path where they can get out of it. And then it's their choice. And if they choose to walk that path, they'll end up in a house. If they don't, that's okay too. It's their choice. It's their life. Help somebody else who wants to be helped.
I love that. Love that. So, Mark, you mentioned, how many years you've been in the business. I'd love to hear, how did you find the mortgage business? How did you come in?
Kind of funny. I had been a executive in a large transportation company. I started out originally in EMS and that kind of thing. Ran a couple large EMS organizations in the country, and then I transitioned into more of a transportation type role, of an executive in that. And I did that for many years, and the corporate rat race, and a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. And one day I just said, I'm not happy in this job. So I kept doing it for another 5 years. And then I finally just reached a limit, and I was to the point where my health was getting bad. I weighed about 110 pounds more than I do now, and I just said, I can't do this anymore. And I told him, I said, I'll give you. It was in September of 2019. I said, you know what? I'll give you till the end of the year, and I'm done. And so anyway, I started to do it. I was actually watching the World Series uh, baseball game, and a real estate agent friend of mine, well, my friend, his wife was real estate agent and her business partner. We were all watching the World Series, and we got to talking. And I said, "Yeah, I'm leaving my job." And he looked at me and he says, "At your age, you are not going to be able to find another job. Why are you leaving your job? You have a good job. You make great money." And I said, "Well, you know what? It's just time." And he said, "Well, what are you going to do?" And I said, "I'm going to go get my real estate license and work with you." And he started laughing. He said, "Well, that's great. You can do that." He said, "But what you really need to do is become a loan officer." And I said, "What is that?" And I said, "Like work at a bank or something?" And he's like, "No, no, no." He says that, you work for lenders or something like that. He says, "I don't know a whole lot about it, but that's your personality. You would be perfect for that. You need to go do that." So I literally went home that night. I got Googled mortgage loan officer and found I lived in Las Vegas at the time, and there was a class that was starting in 2 weeks. It was like $300. And I said, "What the heck?" I enrolled in it, and I went to the class, and I got it. I was kind of blown away because remember I was in my late 50s at the time, and I was kind of blown away. And I started doing like one of the testing things, online testing
Yeah.
things, just to get smart. And it was taking me forever. So I ended up pushing my test back another month because this old brain wasn't learning as quickly as I wanted it to.
A lot of
And
regulations, right?
yes, a lot of regulations, a lot of memorization, and
Yeah.
again, it just the old brain don't work as good as it used to. So anyway, long story short, I ended up finally, or I took the test the first time. I passed it by 2 points, thank you, and that was all I cared about was just getting the pass, and I went to work in retail for about through that's probably about I was probably there about a month and just realized real quickly that wasn't going to be my cup of tea. And I stumbled upon Nexa and started there over 5.5 years ago
Wow.
and didn't know what I was doing, had no clue. Of course, that was when the pandemic started in
Yes.
2020. So I couldn't even go meet realtors or anything. It was a tough start, but you know what? It happened. And I got in with a good coaching company that helped me a lot. Christine Beckwith and her
Yeah.
team, they helped me a lot. And everything. And the next thing you know, it just started working. And one of my true passions is teaching. And Nexa gave me that opportunity a few years ago to where I'm a student coach now. I teach new loan officers how to do their thing and everything. And I just love it. It's a fun part. And that's how I got into the business, quite by
I,
accident.
my goodness, I love that story. And I go back to what I said earlier. I think the mortgage business finds us.
It
It's
does.
just, it finds us at the moment it's supposed to. For me,
Right. I
it
never,
was it was when I was very young. For you, it was after a full career of doing something else, but you were ready. You were ready to
sure.
be open. You were ready for the change. You realized the impact that you have on others, whether it's teaching new loan officers, that's a huge positive impact. We're working directly with realtors and families and everyone else.
Right.
So, Mark, number one, I love that story. It is just so
Thank you.
amazing that at that moment you're like, what is a loan officer, right? Like you didn't even know what a loan officer
I had no
did.
idea.
So
No,
that is
I thought you went to the
amazing.
bank. I just thought you went to a bank and got a loan. That was
Oh,
what
I
I had
love
always
that.
done.
That's awesome. All right. Well, on that note, we like to wrap up Wednesday Wisdom with, we believe that unlimited. Everything in our lives is absolutely unlimited. It's really just a mindset of we can achieve anything. And with that, I also believe that when we say things out loud, they become little seeds that are planted on our lives to grow. So I'd love to hear, Mark, if I was to pull out my magic wand and allow you unlimited resource, unlimited knowledge, and everything that you needed to accomplish something, what would you do?
I, that's a tough question, but I think ultimately what I would do is one, I don't think I'll ever completely retire. And so what I think I would do is take those resources and one of the dreams I've always had is being able to go out and have the ability to go out and find ways to give people a hand up, that are struggling, maybe single mothers or domestic abuse victims, things like that. Go out and help these people 'cause so many of them are just inches away from being successful. And I think I would do that to help them get a hand up, that kind of thing. And on top of that, more than just giving them the hand up is giving them the ability to learn a trade or a skill, or maybe become a mortgage person. I don't know, whatever, but a way to earn, to make it on their own way so they don't ever need a hand up again, and then they can turn around and pay it forward. I think it's so important that we look at our fellow human and help them, because so many people just need. I was lucky, I came from a good family. I had a good, we weren't wealthy or any rich or anything like that, but I always had food on the table. I didn't have to worry. I had supportive parents and everything. But a lot of people don't have that, and it breaks my heart that they're starting out really behind the eight ball, and I just think it's terrible. And I think that that's something that we should do as people, to go out and help people do that, and become better and be able to be self-sufficient and break that generational change so that their kids don't have to live that way, and their grandchildren don't have to live that way, and their children don't have to live that way, and everything. And I think that we can do that. It's just a matter of everybody pitching in a little bit and doing that. And I think that's what I would do if I had unlimited resources.
I think that is absolutely beautiful. And I'm glad that
Oh,
we
thank you.
planted that seed into the world
Mhm.
today. Mark, thank you so
Thank you.
much for all that you do. Thank you so much for spending your time with us to share your wisdom with all of us, and for making the world a brighter place. Wishing you all the best. And wait, before I let you go, how can people connect with you or learn more about you?
I'm out there. Google me, Mark Hayden. I'm with Nexa Mortgage. Feel free, if you want to reach out to me. I'm happy to speak with anybody. I enjoy getting to know people, learning about people, and I try to make myself available as much as I can to do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you, Laura. Appreciate the opportunity.